nuyem Ab Kilasunugwa. Hello, my name is Ab, and in this video I wanted to share a prayer that I found in one of our cultural documents and how I converted that into the hybrid orthography. So I'm going to switch to a Word document here. So this prayer came from a document called Haisla, We Are Our History. It's on page 65. And what I've done here in this chart is I've shown the original spelling here on the left. This is what I refer to as more of a phonetic spelling. And then I have the standard writing system or the hybrid orthography on the right. And then underneath each of those lines is the English translation. So this just gives you a look at how each one is different. So I'm going to go through this in a lot of detail just to show you how I went about translating all of this and converting everything to the hybrid orthography. And you'll see why I did this as we go through it. So just a little note here, I use a / symbol, and this is basically to separate different parts of Haisla words or individual letters. I find that it's easier than using brackets or quotation marks. This / is very distinctive. It stands out visually, so I find that it's really useful in separating different parts of words and individual letters from each other. So we take a look at this first line. Actually, I think I'll go back up to the chart here and I'll read through it first, so you'll get an idea of how it all sounds. So we have line 1, ʷiniya'eqʷs. ʷiniya'eqʷs, that means creator or reason for life. Line 2, tuquidnuch llwiniya'eqws. Tuquidnuch llwiniya'eqws, that means we ask for strength today. Line number 3, iniya'eqws. iniya'eqws. This means, and be one with us with your loving kindness. Line number 4, mathala santlanuch, mensidini yanuch kan existik yanuch. Mathala santlanuch, mensidini yanuch kan existik yanuch. Work with us as we try to improve our lives. Line number 5, iniya'eqws kan Hades ex kalas hai kathdawa sunuch. Iniya'eqws kan Hades ex kalas hai kathdawa sunuch. Kathdawa sunuch. Kathdawa sunuch. And be with us as we walk the good walk. And the last line, Owala tequithkianuch. Owala tequithkianuch. We really thank you. So breaking this down line by line, we can see that I've got these little charts that I've put throughout the document that breaks down each word so you get a better understanding of what's happening there. So when you look at ʷiniya'eqʷs, we start by looking at the root word. So the root is the beginning of the word. It has its own meaning, but it can't be used by itself. It has to have something added to it. And when you add suffixes, you change the overall meaning of that word. And that's essentially how the Haisla language works. So the root word is ʷ'la. And you can see here the second column has the meaning. So ʷ'la means alive. And then the suffix is gith. And it means reason. So this was described in the original text as creator, but it literally means reason for being alive or reason for living. So this is not apparent in the phonetic spelling because the full word is broken up into separate parts where they shouldn't be. In the hybrid writing system, it's spelled as one single word because geeth is a suffix. It needs to be added to a word in order to work. And this is the difficulty in trying to read something that's been written phonetically. Because in that way of spelling, people tend to break up single syllables. So it's hard to know where one word ends and the next one begins. Knowledge of Haisla word structure is required to fully understand what is being said. So that's why alagi is spelled as one single word here, because that's the way it's meant to be. And that's the first line. The second line, if we take a look at this first word, tukwidnu, the root of the word is tuk, and this means to ask. This apostrophe ID, that's a suffix. And it essentially refers to an action of some sort. So tuk means ask, tukwid means to ask, or starting to ask. There's another suffix here added after this ed part. The suffix is nuh, and this means we, or our, or us. So in this explanation here, the beginning of the first word, tuk, means to ask. Ed is kind of difficult to explain, but it essentially refers to an action that's being carried out or starting to happen. And nuh means we or our. It could also mean us. So in Haisla there isn't a word for we. There isn't a single word that means we. It's indicated by using a suffix, either as nis, that means we including you, or nuh, that means we excluding you. So the reason nuh is used here is because we're talking to somebody. We're talking to the Creator. We can't include him in the act of asking, because he is the one we're making the request to. So we wouldn't be able to say tukwid nis or tukwid nis, because we'd be including the Creator in the act of asking. So nuh is used to separate us from him, the person that we're asking. The next word, the root is slok, and this means strong. The suffix, you have an apostrophe, I and I, so it sounds like ini. And then another suffix, yats. So it's difficult to describe what this first suffix means. Ini basically turns a root word into a noun, or a common noun. So for lack of a better term, I'd define it as meaning something or a thing. I can't really figure out a better way to describe that. So in literal terms, ļokwini means something that is power or is strength. The last suffix, yat, is actually ac. I believe it refers to something that's invisible. This y here is added to separate it from the previous suffix. So ini ends with a vowel, ends with an I. At starts with a vowel, starts with an A. So putting a letter in between them keeps them apart from each other. So that's why we say ļokwiniya'eqვის. All those, it's the root word plus two suffixes. And you'll notice that a lot in Haisla, is that a lot of changes happen when you add suffixes to words. It's not as simple as just taking a suffix and putting it on the end of a word. There's usually some kind of change that happens that's very common, and it really helps in terms of understanding the language. The next word, Islam. So the root word is ace, and this means to do again. The suffix tlam is kind of like ini, where it means like something or a thing that is what the root word talks about. So the structure of the word is not entirely clear. It's possible that this lambda symbol here, this tla sound, is actually a separate suffix on its own, and this am is actually You can see I put an A in brackets and then EM. So as far as I can tell, AM or EM is similar to, I'm just going to be fixing typos as I go along here, is similar to ini in that it refers to a thing or an entity or something that is that thing. So in a literal sense, Islam could mean a new day or something that is new. Once again, in the hybrid spelling, I've combined word parts out of necessity. Whereas the phonetic spelling has 5 parts to that line, I've condensed it down to 3 full words in the hybrid spelling. Now we look at the third line. Iniya'eqws. So this is where we start seeing some major differences between the phonetic spelling and the hybrid spelling. So these first 2 letters are actually one word, gi, and it means and. So in the phonetic spelling, it's typed as gainawa, simplanu. And I believe that the first word is actually gi, which means and, so it's not part of the next word. It's separate. There's also a line under the G in the phonetic spelling. I'm not sure why it's there. If it were a uvularized G, the line would go over it instead of underneath. So you can see here in the forward slashes, I've got a G bar, a G with a line over top of it. That's a completely different sound. It's not needed here because gi starts with a regular G and not a uvularized G. And then the next word, na'wasantlanu. The root is nahu. It means one. The first suffix is us, and it kind of refers to like a characteristic or a trait of something, a defining feature. And then the last suffix is actually 2 suffixes combined. Or actually, it can be seen as 2 separate suffixes, but it's used as one here. Antlenuch means we or us. So if you combine the root word with the first suffix, you get na'was. That means to be one person. And it's directly related to the word noh, which means one. They're both based on the same root word. The us suffix indicates a characteristic of something or someone. And antlenuch refers to we or us. So when all of those word parts are combined, na'wasantlenuch means to be one with us. The next word is heis. And it has different meanings depending on the context. It could mean by, or of, or about. So heis is what I refer to as a connector or a helping word. So here it's used in its full form, but I usually choose to reduce it down to an S and attach it as a suffix. Either way is acceptable, but regardless of what form is used, it acts as a way of connecting 2 separate words. And then the next word, iniya'eqვის. The root word is ek, which means good. We have that suffix ini, again, which means something. And the suffix ya'eqვის means yours. So ini means kindness, and a'eqვის means yours. So not only does this suffix indicate possession, but it also gives location. So in this case, it means that the kindness is yours, the listener, the person we're talking to, and it's close to you. It's not close to me, the speaker. It's closer to you than it is to me because it's yours. And the Y is inserted between ini and a'eqვის, again to separate the last vowel of the first suffix and the first vowel of the last suffix. So it's there to separate this I from this A. That's something else that is very common in Haisla is using the letter Y to separate a suffix from a root word or one suffix from another suffix. The fourth line is, we'll take a look at this first word, mathala santlenuch. So the root word is math, and this means two. So this is directly related to the word ma'aloh, meaning two. The suffix is alas, and it means to do. It usually refers to some kind of an action that's taking place. And the other suffix is antlenuch, which we've seen before, and it means we or us. So in the original text, the English translation says guide us, but I was unable to find any word in any Haisla dictionary that comes close to that. So what I did find was mathala, which means two people working together. So it's a different meaning than guiding. It's working with. And there's an S after Allah, and I assume that this is a command form. So this letter S is short for us, this ES suffix, and it means you. So I would take mathala santlenuch to literally mean you work with us. The next word, iniya'eqვის. So the root word here is muntz, and it means to try. Idini means to do something, and yanuch means we or us. So when you combine this root word with the first suffix, this is actually two suffixes together that I've combined into one for spatial considerations, to fit within the width of the page here. So the word minseed means to try, and the suffix ini has been added to it. Again, I've combined two suffixes together for spatial considerations. We also see the insertion of this Y to separate vowels from each other. So separates this I from that A. So it breaks up vowels between suffixes. The next word is kan, and this means for, and this is what I call a helping word, kind of like what we saw earlier. There's various helping words that will be inserted into sentences, like haise is something that I would define as a helping word. Kan is another helping word, and it's generally used to mean for. And then the next word, eksisti. So ek means good. Sisti, I believe, means to turn around. And gyanuch means hours. So to go into a little bit more detail, I believe eksis means good turnaround. I wasn't able to find this word in any dictionary, but I recognize the word structure, the way that it was built. I know that ek means good, and sis, I believe, has to do with turning around. I'm not sure what this di suffix means, but I do know that gyanuch is another form of nuch. In this case, it's referring to something that is ours and it's close to us. So gyanuch means ours, close to us. And the fifth line, we see this gi word again, another helping word, meaning and. Once again, in the phonetic spelling, they separated the words differently. Genawa, sintlenuch. It's already been established that this is a transcription error. I've corrected that in my hybrid conversion. The next word, again, we see this suffix, or this root word, nach, meaning one, us, meaning a trait or a characteristic, antlenuch, meaning we or us. So the unusual word breaks in the phonetic spelling caused a great deal of confusion because I couldn't find genawa anywhere. It was only after rethinking the word structure and comparing it to what I know that gi means and. From there, I was able to insert proper word breaks and unravel the true meaning behind it. So I believe it's gi natwa sintlenuch, not genawa sintlenuch. And then it's followed by the word kan again. So again, we see the helping word kan, meaning for. The next word, Hades, I believe the root word is heda, meaning the one. And this S is similar to that helping word that we saw before, Hais, and it means by, of, or about. So the structure and meaning of this word is unclear to me. It's possible that Heidi is an alternate form of Heda, which essentially means this one or that one. For example, if someone was looking for their pen, they're looking for their pen and I found it, I would say Heida Giada. Heida Giada. Here it is. I think it's similar to that. And I believe this S is a suffix and it's short for Hais and is used as a connector. This is purely a guess on my part, as I'm unable to find anything in any dictionary that explains it. So that's the closest I can come to explaining what that means. It's a very educated guess. And then the next word, eqs. So ache means good, S means by, of, or about. Again, word separation was difficult to establish based on the phonetic spelling. I believe this word is separate, but uses the S suffix to connect it to the word that comes after it. So ache means good, eqs means essentially something that is good. The next word, the root word is kas, which means walk. The suffix as means place. And there's another suffix, che, which means away. So in the Lincoln and Rath Dictionary, kalas is defined as a place where one walks, or a road, or a trail. The suffix che is sometimes shown as ache, and it refers to something that is not close to the speaker or the listener. It's somewhere else. So it gives the location of something. And it's put this way because of the fact that we can't see the path that's being spoken about. So it's more of a metaphorical path that we're talking about. So it's not a physical entity that you can see or point to. So that's why the suffix che is used, because it's not close to anybody that's involved in the conversation. And then we have the next word, which is also based on kath, meaning walk. This suffix dua means essentially to do. And there's another suffix attached to it, sunuh, which means hours or be hours. So again, due to spatial limitations, I've combined some suffixes above. I believe do and a are two separate suffixes that both refer to an action that's taking place. The suffix su means something like to be. And once again, we see the nuh suffix meaning hours. So sunuh, I take to mean to be hours. And that nuh suffix appears numerous times in this prayer. And pattern recognition helps a great deal in learning Haisla. So if you keep noticing that same suffix keeps popping up, that means something. And that really helps in learning the language in terms of how it works. It helps for you to be able to predict what something is going to mean when you're reading it. And the last line, the root word is owala. Owala means really. The suffix tequit means something like to say. And the last suffix gianu means we or us or ours. So Lincoln and Rath define owala to mean very, real, really, true, truly, actual, or actually. The suffix tequit may actually be two suffixes combined. It's not really clear to me if it's two suffixes together or just one single suffix. And I don't really understand the meaning behind it. I believe this means to say something, though I could be wrong on that. The spelling is also unclear. I've seen It's spelled with a C at the start of it instead of a Z. But I honestly don't think it matters very much, as Z and T are very close together in the way that they sound. So I use M-in-box spelling, but I believe that either spelling is perfectly acceptable. And it ends with gyanuch again, meaning that it's ours and it's close to us when we're talking about it. So this is my interpretation of the prayer using what I know about word and sentence structure in Haisla. And there's currently very little information about suffixes available, so I've had to make a lot of educated guesses, but I believe I've translated everything accurately. And this shows the effectiveness of a standard writing system over a phonetic one. So I had a very difficult time converting the original text into the hybrid orthography. Whereas if it was already in a recognized spelling system, I would have had little, if any, difficulty in converting it. So a lot of meaning gets lost when a phonetic spelling system is used. There's a lot of room for error, and we get a much better idea of the true meaning when we use a standard orthography and break down every part of every word. So here's a comparison of each version. So that's the first line, the phonetic spelling on top, my hybrid spelling underneath, and then the English translation. So I've done that for each of these lines. And you'll notice that the hybrid conversions are all shorter. Look how much longer the phonetic spelling is. Every time, it's a lot longer. And we also get some unusual word breaks in there as well. So this is where knowledge of word structure and sentence structure really comes in handy. So you can pick up on things like that and also make some corrections as you go along. I believe this X also had a line underneath it. So when you compare the original text to what I've written here, you can see that there's a big difference. And the biggest difference is that I understand it now that I've written it in the hybrid system. I can read it, I can sound it out. As I couldn't really do that with the original text. So you'll notice that the hybrid conversions are all shorter than the phonetic phrases. This speaks to the efficiency of the hybrid writing system. Since it's so concise, it's a more efficient use of space. It's easier to read once you understand the hybrid spelling system. And I've also included the hybrid spelling with the English translation underneath. So I'll go through it again. I'll go through the whole prayer with the hybrid spelling. Q'elagith tuquidnuch ļiniya'eqws lam. Gina'eqws Haisla Mathalas mensidiniyanuch kan existikianuch. Gina'eqws kan Hades excalas hai kathduasunuch. So that's the prayer. I'll end this by saying wa, which means okay, langwathlina, which means I'm finished now. Until next time, remember, learning is its own reward. Ixquiguelas.